John, thank you so much for joining me at LSI Europe.
Great to be here.
Tell me a little bit about Locate Bio.
So we are a spin-out from the University of Nottingham, interestingly from their School of Pharmacy. We are definitely focused on sort of bringing combination products to market, and I think that heritage coming from a leading School of Pharmacy in the UK gives us a great capability to bioconverge between pharmaceutical skill sets and med tech skill sets, which is our other core competency.
Talk a little bit more about the two core competencies at the heart of Locate Bio.
Yeah, so on the one hand, programmed drug release, which is really better aligning known molecules with their bioavailability relative to the biological need. And the other core competency is material engineering, so building instructive tissue scaffolds. So that's building scaffolds that have features about them that can actually guide cell fate towards a particular tissue type.
Programmed drug delivery sounds incredibly interesting. How do you program a drug to be delivered?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of different technologies that we use. Some are biodegradable polymers. So we have our lead product is called LD Graft. It's a lower dose controlled release BMP2. So BMP2 is a highly effective therapeutic protein used to grow bone, and we control its release because we encase that protein within this biodegradable polymer, and these little polymer pellets, as they start to degrade, release fresh BMP into the microenvironment. So that's one of the ways that we control and extend the release of drugs. The other is using, I suppose you would call it a nanomedicine type technology. Okay. It's very early stage for us, but we're seeing some incredible results with that as well. So we're using that to deliver an antibiotic for bone and joint infections, and again, having a really extended release profile, which helps for those particular drugs that are time dependent rather than dose dependent. So some of the antibiotics that you use to clear biofilm infections require a very long release of the antibiotic, and we're able to achieve that with this material.
The orthobiologics market is a pretty large one, if I'm not mistaken. What's sort of the unmet need today that your company is addressing?
So it is a super big market. I think there's something like 1.7 billion people around the globe who suffer with some form of musculoskeletal disease. The actual bone grafting segment is valued at just over $3 billion a year. And there's maybe 300 odd products that are approved, and they go from fairly simple for non-contentious types of healing that are required all the way up through to powerful therapeutic products. And what we see our unique skill sets being able to bring is optimizing the bioavailability of those powerful molecules in the context of a three-dimensional tissue scaffold. So we're able to locate the release of the drug exactly where we want it and control it over a long period of time. And I think that gives us the opportunity to enhance healing, quicker healing, lower side effects would be the aim of the products that we're developing as well.
Fascinating. You mentioned the market opportunity. What's sort of the indication that you're chasing after first here with your product?
So our initial indication is going to be for lumbar fusion. So low back pain is something pretty much everyone has had at some point in their life. It can be very painful, but often only lasts a short period of time. But for other patients, that's because they're suffering from something called degenerative disc disease or some other form of lower spinal instability. And the discs are the shock absorbers of your spine, so as they start to age, they dehydrate slightly, use a little bit of disc height, and that can put pressure onto the facet joints at the back of the spine or to the nerves coming out of the spine, and it causes excruciating pain. So the treatment for those patients is you'll start on lifestyle changes that build up your core strength and you won't bend in the same way, but then they will move on to very powerful painkillers, some of which are highly addictive, and so you can't take those for too long. So ultimately, some form of surgical intervention is required. And that's where really our product comes in, which is for the people going an interbody fusion, that diseased disc will be removed. They'll restore the disc height by putting a spacer or a cage in. But you can't just leave it there. You've got to get bone to bear the weight. Otherwise, you'll be injuring the adjacent segments. So our product goes in and converts into bone over a number of months.
Looking a bit further ahead, what's the sort of roadmap or pipeline for your technology?
So LD Graft, which is our lead program, is just finishing its large animal study now. So those data are landing this month and next month. So it's a really exciting time for us. We're pushing that product into human clinical studies next year, and that's an incredible milestone for any early stage company. Our antibiotic product needs to go through a lot more preclinical testing. So this is the first time that that particular technology has been used in humans. So there's a lot of safety data we'll need to generate for that. We also have another product which is just the instructive tissue scaffold on its own, and that's a simpler 510(k) regulatory process for us. So, again, we'll be pushing that forward towards submission towards the end of next year.
Is your technology for instructive tissue scaffolding and programmed drug release, is that only limited to bone regrowth, or can it be used in other orthopedic indications?
So it can be used in a lot of other areas, but as a small startup, we're kind of focused on musculoskeletal because we know it super well. It's really where we focus. But as a drug delivery vehicle, both the technology we use, so the biodegradable polymer and the other technology for antibiotics, that can be taken into a wide variety. So even if we wanted to stay just in musculoskeletal, there's other drugs that you may choose to deliver, whether those are for bone tumors and you want a nice long extended release of a chemotherapy agent, but it can also be used in pretty much any drug depot type long-acting release of a small and large molecules, actually.
So John, it's my understanding that you're currently raising money. Tell me a little bit about what you're trying to achieve with those funds and where it's going to take you.
Yeah, so we've raised £18.5 million of money through our seed and Series A rounds, and we're now going out for our Series B. We really want to fund all the way through our first in human study for LD graft and bring our other pipeline products, through their preclinical phases. And that will give us our Series C as we see that, to complete the clinical studies for the next phase for LD graft. So there's 2 studies we're doing. The first is around 45 patients, and then we'll move into a pivotal study. So Series B really gets us to the end of that pilot study and pushes the preclinical work through for the other programs.
Looking at territories, are you looking at going to the EU first, the US? What's the initial commercial strategy sort of look like for Locate Bio?
Yeah, and again, as a small company, we have to focus, and it is absolutely focused on the US. So all of our regulatory interactions are geared at getting to a US approval first. The other territories will come, but they'll come later. We're looking at US, UK, places like Australia, and hopefully by the time we're there, everything has settled down with the MDR transition in Europe, and therefore, there's more clarity in how we can bring that product into Europe.
So John, what brings you to LSI Europe?
It's been a great event. I think it's fantastic opportunities to network with people and reconnect with people I've known over the years in the industry. A couple of really interesting meetings with service providers and with investors, and an opportunity really just to showcase the product.
Have you had a lot of interesting meetings so far?
Yeah, they've all been absolutely great, and I think it's been a really well-run event and something that Europe's needed for a long time.
It's been great getting to learn more about Locate Bio and what you guys are working on. Is there anything else you want to share with me about sort of maybe your mission?
Yeah, I think we are absolutely focused on relieving suffering, improving the quality of life in all those patients. And I think we're doing that in a way that recognizes that healthcare costs can't just keep going up. So those are the core go-to-market strategies for us. How do we improve patient outcomes without increasing cost to the healthcare system? So that's us on a napkin.
It was great speaking with you.